Let's talk about the deadly sin of trying to get rich quick, the sin of greed. Listen, no one can afford to get swindled by a get-rich-quick scam. Unfortunately, it's people that are underprepared or unprepared for retirement that are often looking for returns that are too good to be true. And let me tell you a story about one of the most common examples I've seen over the last few years. We had a single mom call us a few years back and ask, "Hey, can you guys handle $40 million? And I typically don't get calls like this, so I was a little bit excited, like, yeah, we'd love to help you with this account. Why don't you come down and we'll talk about the details of it. So she comes down and we're sitting around a table and she says, so are you familiar with international news? And I said to her, yeah, we follow international news. It's helpful to know what's going on around the world. She says, okay, so you're probably well aware of the incredible opportunity in the Iraqi dinar. Unfortunately, I was aware that there was no incredible opportunity in the Iraqi dinar, and we tried to kindly tell her that we didn't think this was a good idea, and her life savings that she invested in the Iraqi dinar probably was not going to turn into $40 million. She's still waiting for that $40 million as well, because it's not likely to happen. So that's one example. Another example is somebody named Bernie Madoff. You might not remember Bernie. About 11 years ago, Bernie was in the news for running the largest scam, the largest Ponzi scheme of all time at $65 billion. Now, Bernie's in jail for another, I think, 140 more years, so we use him to help people avoid getting scammed and getting taken advantage of. We contrast Bernie's values with more reasonable values, the values of our firm, SMB Financial. So Bernie's first value was a secret strategy. People would say, Bernie, how do you get such great returns every year, regardless of what the economy does? You get good returns. And he would say, listen, I've been doing this a long time, just trust me. I said, you should know, just trust me is not a thing. Advisors don't say that. And if somebody were to tell you that, you should run. Instead, you need a knowable strategy, an investment strategy that you can understand, and you should make the advisor explain the details to you, even if you don't understand all of them. The next one was creative compensation. That's the next value of Bernie's. I think it's safe to say that Bernie was paid creatively. He just helped himself to whatever he wanted out of other people's accounts, to a criminal extent. Instead of that, you need clear fees. You need to know exactly what you're paying in any investment that you're getting involved with. Make the advisor list the fees for you. And honestly, that's the first question you should ask, is what are the fees in this investment? This is such a big deal. We'll pick up on this in a few sins. The next value of Bernie's was advisor first. He put his interests as the advisor first and the client's interests second. You should not do that. You should do the opposite. You should work with somebody that puts the client's interests first. Like this stuff is still happening to this day. Let me give you an example of how this might happen. Let's pretend that two of you are going to retire on the exact same day with the same amount of money, the same risk tolerance, the same objectives. You're essentially retirement twins. And you go to two advisors, and they're practically twins. They have access to the same investments, they have the same education, the same background. But one of the advisors pitches the retiree an investment that pays 5% per year, and the other one pitches the retiree an investment that only pays 3% per year. If everything is the same, why would one be offered more and one be offered less? What you might not know is there is a commission being paid, and one of the advisors is unethical, and they're looking at the commission to determine what they should offer to their clients. And the ethical advisor is putting the client's interests first and trying to determine what's the best return for the client, regardless of the commission to themselves. If you want to avoid this from happening, you should hire a fiduciary. Fiduciary is not a word we use very often. It's kind of fun to say, fiduciary. But a fiduciary is legally obligated to act in the client's best interest. I'm a fiduciary. Everybody at our firm is a fiduciary, and you should consider working with a fiduciary in the future. The last value of Bernie's was mythical results. Bernie's returns were a myth. They weren't real. The Iraqi dinar, unfortunately, was a myth. Those returns aren't real. Instead, you need realistic results. You need realistic expectations. We're telling people to project about a 5% return over the next 10 years. We think that's a fairly conservative return that you can feel good about. The last 10 years has been great, like double that, but the next 10 we're not as optimistic about. We'll hope it's better than 5%, but use 5% in your projections if you're at least a moderately aggressive investor.